because I think on a more of a positive side, there's probably a lot of people listening and a lot of people just in life in general that feel like, man, I'm never going to get out of this position. Or, you know, you could be, maybe you're in your 40s or mid 30s or whatever, and you're doing a fairly mundane 9 to 5 and it's just not that great. And you're just kind of thinking, man, is this the next 30 years? Don't feel helpless. You can control your own destiny. And just because you're there now doesn't mean that's where you're always going to be, but you have to have a realistic outlook on, all right, what is the next step? Like, what's the plan? How do I improve my fighting position? Right. So if you're in a job you don't like, you know, what does my resume look like? What does my education background look like? Even though I would argue, I wish that wasn't so relevant with jobs, but it is. Okay, well, can I take night classes, right? Can I burn the midnight oil for 3 years and go get my undergrad degree? Or maybe you get your master's degree and now you're not eligible for all these other positions you didn't get. And you know, might be grinding, you might be working 2 jobs and doing night classes. I mean, there are people that do this. And when they're grinding, they are improving their fighting position in society, right? So you can't just, you know, sit back and say, well, this is, you know, I'm accepting my fate and then be negative about it the whole time. You know, hopefully it's like, all right, you're good. This is the current position you're in, but hey, you can ascend, but it's going to take, you're going to have to bust your ass a little bit to get there because it's not for everyone, right? That's why there's levels to this. You know, some people are, you know, there's a little bit of luck and definitely skill too. Like if you're more skilled in business and whatever that is, you're going to get there quicker. You're going to have a better chance. But no matter how intelligent you are, how lucky you are, if you apply those basic principles, all right, how do I improve my fighting position in society? And how do I be more of a value add to another entity? What do I bring to the table? You got to be honest about it, because if it's a job that anyone can do, you know, the pay will be commensurate to that, right? But as you get more skilled, obviously you can demand more, and that's the biggest thing. Is I don't want people to be discouraged by being in a position, because I look at myself, man. I was like, all right, I was a freaking Yale graduate, right? A bunch of my buddies were going to Wall Street, making 6 figures immediately, and I was working for Red Bull, not making a lot of money. Cool job, but what did I do to improve my fighting position? I went and bought a lawnmower, and I printed out flyers at FedEx, and I handed them out around all the neighborhoods in this southern Indianapolis where I was living, right? I was splitting a house with 3 other people. My rent was like, I don't know, like $400, so it was super cost effective. And I was mowing 5 lawns a week after hours after working, right? So like it wasn't a huge deal, but I knew, okay, that'll be another like $2 or $3 grand a year, whatever it is, and I can use that to start building up my own financial, you know, and obviously not to a massive degree, but hey, that's a small win. I've slightly improved my fighting position there, and you know, I was a Yale graduate, man. I could have been like, oh, I don't mow lawns. No, because I grew up mowing lawns. That's how, you know, I was raised, and I think I learned a lot of the work ethic and kind of principles. So I didn't roll out with that fancy Yale degree and be like, oh, well, you know, I need to go to Wall Street. I demand $100,000 a year because I'm a Yale graduate. You know what I mean? It was like, no, if this is what I'm doing, I'm going to go to a lawnmower, and I'm going to be literally, I mean, they didn't know I was a Yale graduate mowing their lawn. You know, they probably thought I was some hillbilly, you know what I mean? Which is fine. I mean, I'm an Indiana guy, you know, I probably looked like it too, probably in jorts, shirtless, and work boots mowing their lawn. But you see what I'm saying?
Well,
so we've all been in that phase, but some of us choose to get out of it, right? But others don't. And I want to empower people, because you can get out of it. You got to take action, and you got to work harder than everybody else. That's what it comes down to.
Well, and there's the word. And it's funny, I wrote it down as empowerment, and because what you just described, like, there's a subtlety to victimhood. It's not, there are the obvious ones where somebody who is fully capable has perceived themselves as a victim and is trapped in that mind cage that they've created. But then there's the subtlety of what you just said too, is that, and we all have this, is you can rationalize your way into anything. So if you have 3 kids, you have a busy family, but you absolutely hate your job, of course, I think at least how I would prioritize that is like, okay, I need to provide for my family. So even if I hate my job, I need to provide for them. But then here's where the subtlety comes in of victimhood, is that you're almost staying a victim even in that scenario. If you convince yourself that, yeah, I'm just going to punch the clock for 30 years because I have to take care of my family. It's like, yes, that should be a priority, and that should, of course, be considered. But then the subtlety of being empowered to, even if it takes 3 years to get out of that, to still provide for your family and build a skill set to transition out, that's where empowerment comes from. And that's what's sad to me, is that as humans, we have the unbelievable ability to create realities in which do not exist right now. That's the beauty of being a human. And I think it is special. And I think as a society, if we lean into that and realize our power, that will change literally everything that in which we live in. Like that's how culture changes. That's how society's built out, I think, in a healthy way. But it's like we've lost that empowerment and we've kind of surrendered it to whether it is at times the government or these bigger corporations. And we've seen this happen in moments recently where it's like a complete just like, and I hate this word, but like sheep in the sense of like, oh, like I don't have it, like I don't have any, like I don't have the answers, I don't know, like whatever they say is the truth. And it's like if we can grip back that empowerment, it's like it will work not only in those subtle moments of building out a skill set, but then it ripples out through a culture where now you have a bunch of people who realize their power and no longer need to look up to look up to the man to solve their issues. And I'm sorry, it's 1770s. It's like it was less than 100 men that were able to do that and separate from Great Britain. And look at the power that less than 100 guys were able to do. It's like we don't need to go to that extreme now, but that essence, that spirit that they carried, like if we can embody that as a culture again, it's like we can solve the issues ourselves.